My name is Sami Laiho. I'm from Finland. I'm a Microsoft MVP since 2011 in the Windows operating systems and security groups nowadays. I've been in IT since the beginning of 1995, and I mostly teach people about operating systems and operating system security, and do a lot of consulting work, mainly as a security architect.
Why did you move from a Windows OS guy to more of a security person?
Well, for me, it all started about a bit more than 10 years ago. I used to go to a lot of security conferences myself, and I used to go to a lot of sessions, and I hated the security sessions for a few reasons. So one was that all the sessions were basically about bashing on the audience about like I hack you like this, and 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 it's just about someone being on stage showing off skills on how to hack other people. So I felt bad because I had always been more on the defensive side, and also for me conceptually the bigger problem was that these attacks were always shown against improperly configured operating systems. So if you had read the book of like the user guide for Windows NT 3.1 from 1993, which for example states that in an operating system there's no security guarantees if you log in as an admin or root. Yet the demos were about Mimikatz stealing credentials from the LSASS process, which is like, well, Mimikatz doesn't work without the privilege which is only held by admins, so this means you're an admin on the machine. So I wasn't really convinced about the attacks. People didn't remember that even if we did the basic hygiene of Windows and kept it secure, like 95% of these demos would never work. So I felt bad, as I was like, I've been trying to teach people how to properly configure operating systems, and they would be just fine, but this made it sound like everyone's in trouble. Yeah. So I wanted to give a perspective also on from the side of the operating systems that like just read the book, you're good.
Where'd you reference that book? It's my bedtime reading, Sami.
Yeah, there is still a long-lasting problem in our industry of people actually reading the manual. So.
And I know you've won a lot of Best Speaker Awards at the different events that you attend each year. And you've obviously referenced sessions that you didn't really find too fruitful a number of years ago. In your opinion, what would make a good session?
Well, from the perspective that we just discussed, I would of course I can be shown demos on how things are vulnerable, but I would always love to see how they are mitigated. So I would like to see both sides of the coin. In general, I've done extensive research on how people learn, and I have, based on my research, I've actually figured out this really weird fact that people actually learn more if they're awake, which is also another thing that I need a little more liveliness into the presentation. So if we're talking about the fact that why I won all those rewards as the best speaker, I've always told people that some people ask me if, but Sami, your sessions are like 75% of stand-up comedy or 75% of show, and then some tech added to it. But I have never morally felt bad about this, because I honestly feel that a story form learning experience, which is actually a little bit fun as well, if I can get people to learn like 25% of the stuff that I'm teaching because of this 75% of show, I bet it's better than people falling asleep after 10% of the session. So I think one of the big things is that security actually can be fun. It doesn't have to be all scary and boring. So a good session is half show. I do admit that the stand-up comedy part of it, yes, I do pick jokes before I plan the session around them many times. So that is in that sense show. And then if you go to like US conferences compared to European conferences, you can get to top 100 speakers list by being superb in tech. I mean, you know your tech so well that you will get into top 100. But if you want to compete of like top 10, top 5, then it does have to be a show and a presentation. I've honestly, every time I build a deck, I put in all the technical stuff that I want to deliver. And then most of the time actually goes into reordering the slides to build it to be a proper story. Because people learn by stories, people don't learn by lists of PowerPoint bullet points.
Is there any advice that you'd give to people who are considering applying to speak at the next Disabay but a little bit nervous of making that jump? Any guidance you can give?
Well, probably the first one, which is obvious, is that the only way to not get selected is to not submit. So I read through easily a few thousand different proposals every year because I run 2 conferences in US as well as a co-chair for the conference. So my job is actually to pick the sessions. I know it's nerve-wracking first. I mean, there's 2 different things to it. First is to the submission itself, and then it's of course the presentation itself. I mean, there's like 2 phases to this. I always want to have new talent in this business. We see so many people on the circuit that have been there like forever. So we would love to get some fresh blood. There was a US guy speaking at a conference of mine, John O'Neill Sr., and John put it very well. He went on stage and he explained how long he's been there and that he's been speaking at like 15 tech mentors for us. And then he just said that, like, I believe it's cheaper to keep us on stage than in an institution. So I think it's just go ahead. We're more than willing to get new blood in. Proposals are, there's 2 ways of getting accepted, really. The other one is that your topic is actually very popular. Like, I don't like the fact that everything is AI now, but if you want to get into a conference that is hosted by a company that's investing billions in AI, of course, they will prefer those. If you have customer stories are something that it's really hard to get references in this business if we're talking about cybersecurity. But if you have a customer story, that's one of the easiest ways to get a session in, because they are golden. They're really good and they're very, very rare in this business. Don't be too worried about the proposal, like the content itself. In that sense, I mean, the form of your submission is not that important. If you have a good title, you have a good topic. Remember that we as co-chairs, we read through, let's say, 400 to 1,000 submissions per conference. So you do have to have a good and exact title. I mean, we honestly can't read through everything. So make a good title. I got into tech ed originally when I was young. So Microsoft Tech Ed was the big thing back in like 2013 for me. That was the first major event that I got in as a speaker, and I had tried for like 6 years to get in, and I never got in. And then a now retired very famous US speaker, Mark Minasi, I met him in a lobby bar, and Mark looked at my stuff and was like, "This is like diamond. Your content is insanely good, but oh boy, does your titles suck." And then we just like, he was just like, back then it was like, you just have to, I was doing like troubleshooting Windows 8.1. That was like my title that I tried to get in. He was like, you need to add like Ninja or Star Wars or Kung Fu or something in it. And then I'm not even kidding. I changed the title to Black Belt Troubleshooting Windows 8.1 and I got in with it. There's some magic to that, but honestly, it's more about the fact that you're being noticed among hundreds of submissions.
What myth within security would you like to see busted?
I'm a teacher at heart. I've been teaching since, well, I used to be a scuba diving instructor before I actually started teaching IT, but IT I've been teaching for 26 years, and I hate it whenever someone says that the biggest problem in security is the end users. We all know there's a lot of like kind of truth to it in that sense that yes, we can build we can build technical systems, we can build guardrails, we can do all sorts of stuff, and then end user typing their username and password in the wrong place or giving their MFA to someone, I know it can mess everything up, but I just hate the fact that we're hiding behind this. Like everyone just whenever something goes wrong, people is like, well, there would be no problems if we didn't have the end users. I mean, I could vouch for uneducated end users are a big risk. I could go for that, but honestly, it's our job. Like, security is a support function for a company that runs on something totally different. Our job is exactly that. Our job is to make sure that the end users are given the proper education that they need to make wise choices. Yes, they will fail sometimes, and so do ours. I mean, vulnerabilities are 0 days sometimes. We can patch as much as we could or as much as we can, and yet still we get hit because there's a 0-day vulnerability. So yes, people will make mistakes. We're people, we make mistakes as well. But just like the myth of everything being only about the end users and blaming them, I really want that gone. And I hate whenever people say that out loud or write it somewhere.
Let's look at it from a business point of view. What is a problem within company security that you'd like to see fixed?
I would have to go back to my favorite topic that I did the session at Disobey. The session was called Admin Rights Are Not Human Rights. And I think that's still the biggest problem. We have a lot of developers, we have a lot of power users, even end users that are given way too excessive privileges, which could mitigate like 85% of our threats if they were done correctly. There's also the belief that people can't do the work, yet I've been taking away people's admin rights since 2002. My biggest customers are more than 500,000 endpoints with a lot of developers, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of developers. So there's like no one can say that it's not possible to do this correctly. Does it require a little bit of money? Yes. Do you gain more than you put in money-wise? Absolutely. But I think that's still we're talking about the concept of principle of least privilege. And that is not only about just the admin rights for a person on an endpoint. This also goes to excessive global admin rights on Entra ID, excessive root privileges for Amazon or master users, super admins, whatever they call them there. I mean, this goes all the way through our industry that we use excessive privileges. And I think this is also a mindset thing, because people don't understand that they benefit from not having those privileges. And people are thinking that the more privileges I have, the more things I can do, the less I need help. So it's very human. It's also a hard thing to solve, not technically, but a hard thing to solve when you think about people, because you have to get them to understand that they are actually better off with not having them. But I think it goes through the whole thing. I mean, you can also this goes to having separation of duties, goes in a way to the same bucket here. How is it possible that today we have situations like my own daughter? This is a great example. If my daughter wants to scribble a picture on OneNote for her school, so she's 12, and she wants to scribble a picture, she needs to do that from a school-owned, Intune joined, fully Intune managed, compliant end device. She can't scribble without having a security posture perfect on her machine. Yet at the same time, the administrators of the school, they can connect to Entra ID from the public library and wipe out the whole school. So this makes absolutely no sense. We take a lot of care about the end users that can't actually do that much harm with scribbling a picture, yet admins don't have concepts like privileged access the privileged access management, conditional access preventing them from doing this from anything but a privileged access workstation. All that stuff is missing. So the whole principle of least privilege is actually a huge umbrella of technologies. From my perspective, great. It's now one of the 3 core pillars of zero trust. And now I always say you can sell anything that has zero trust, AI, quantum proof, or high protein. Okay? You can sell anything with these. And that makes my job easier because zero trust, 3 core pillars, one of them is principle of least privilege. But that is the big concept that I need companies to fix.
How can somebody become a security expert? What tips can you give?
First of all, anyone who has a background in IT from doing something else and wants to transition to security, that's a very good way of doing it. So people always assume that I'm gonna give them a tip that they should download like some sort of a framework for attacking companies and try to start attacking companies, and not like the practicing that. But from my perspective, I've always said that the biggest thing in security is exactly the same as in troubleshooting that I used to teach a lot more, which is that you can't know what's wrong unless you know what's right. That in troubleshooting perspective, if you look at Task Manager and you see a lot of stuff there, if you don't know what's supposed to be there, it's really hard to pinpoint what the problem is. If you think of it from a SOC perspective for cybersecurity, for example, if you look at 100,000 lines going through your monitor of events happening, if you don't know what the baseline is, it's really hard to understand what could be a threat. So I always throw people at there's 2 books that everyone should read. Mastering Sysinternals Toolkit is from Microsoft, an easier start, and then the Bible for our industry is Windows Internals 7th edition. Currently 2 books, 700 pages, very hardcore, I know, so that's why maybe read that other book first. But I would still go into the industry by trying to understand how the industry works when it's all correct. And then it's easier to learn and spot everything after that. So get the basics covered. If you're more interested in just understanding how the security business works first, then I can't be anything but a proponent for different certifications. I mean, I would easily invest money in Pluralsight, LinkedIn, the online learning platforms, Hack the Box, if you want to like get more hands-on. Kids learn, I see that my kids learn a lot more with things like Try Hack Me or Hack the Box and stuff like that, because they're still at the age where you have to kind of gamify the whole thing. So they learn better by doing. So I always throw them some challenge so that they can start learning. It's as funny as it is, but there's statistics that for every red team job, there are currently 8 blue team jobs available. Red team is of course a lot sexier than blue team. Who wouldn't, like, when you're young, you're like 20, like you can break into a bank and get paid for it, or you try to defend the bank. I mean, the other one is so boring and the other one is so sexy. But if you're really looking for, like, from this, if you're thinking about this from a career perspective and job availability perspective, blue team has so much more jobs that I would always go on the defender side, because defender always needs to know both sides. They learn to defend and they have to learn how to attack.
Yeah.
The attackers really, if they're good, they always know, they will know how to defend as well, but they don't really have to. They can stay in business by just attacking.